Hello everyone, this is Ron de Brito, and here is a few words and some practices for the Virtual Summit 2024 through a trauma-informed lens, becoming an empowered change maker. So just to introduce, what do we want to change and how can we change ourselves? And often there are the external stimuli, things that arrive and bring up some response or reaction within us. And then there are the stimuli within ourselves, the ways in which we respond or react. And one of the huge things about this is to be more and more aware, noticing how we are ourselves. Because in order to be a change maker, without being able to change everything around us, when we change ourselves, we can bring a whole different quality of presence to whatever is around us. So we can change what's around us by changing ourselves. So we want to be able to cope with stimuli. Where trauma exists because of the impact of some trauma in our lives, there may be suppressed pain, there might be pain that's not processed, there might be unconscious reactivity that we're not really aware of. So the more we can be aware in the present, we can begin to bring such skills into unearthing and healing the hidden, unconscious, or stuck energies within us. So my talk was about embodied and compassionate ways for processing and healing in the present. We're longing to have the space, not to be rushed and pressured, but to have the space to reset, settle ourselves, create the life that our heart and soul is longing for. So here are some ways we can settle, create a life that's more satisfying, and lives that can flow, that we don't need to recover from. So if you'd like to begin by just settling somewhere that's comfortable and cozy, and take up a position that is really easy to be in. It could be to lie on the floor or on cushions, or to sit on a chair. So the first thing is to let yourself settle into your position. So let's notice the places where we're in contact with the floor or the chair or wherever we are. And let our attention really come to those places. Notice if there's any tension around where we're settling, meeting the floor, meeting a chair. And notice how our body is responding to the position that we're in. And now notice that the ground underneath your body is supporting you. It always has. Notice that support right now. Notice what that feels like. Notice that it exists and that there is a settling that is possible and available for you right now. Let your attention come to the support. And as you notice the support of Earth, notice also that the Earth has provided all of the nourishment that you have ever received and all of the nourishment you needed to create the body that you are in at the moment. And so noticing with gratitude that the earth is holding you, that the earth is nourishing you. And noticing that, allow your weight to sink into that support. Really let yourself sink and notice in your body any place where you're holding your energy away from the earth, some tension or tightness. And allow that weight to really sink and drop right into the earth. And imagine, if you will, maybe your feet or your whole body sinking into the soft soil of the earth that is always holding you. And maybe notice some gratitude that the earth is there holding and nourishing you. And you can allow yourself to sink into that soil. And if there is any part of you that's holding some tension away from that earth, maybe allow that to relax a little and see if it can soften into the holding of the earth. And then as we do that, allow the breath to come in. And notice that we don't have to do anything for this to happen. That we can soften into simply being here right now. Allow the breath to come in. And without any judgment or labeling of where the breath is going, notice if it goes just into the throat, down into the chest, deeper into the chest, right down to the chest diaphragm. Notice if your breath can go deeper into the belly, into the pelvis, and to the pelvic floor. And simply notice where your breath is going without any judgment or labeling of where it is. And allow this quality that might be here right now, the quality of the in-breath flowing in and nourishing your whole body with oxygen, and the out-breath relaxing your whole body and allowing you to receive the holding of the world around you. Now, often we're worried about our behaviours and words and actions from all sorts of upsets and difficult emotions, explosive responses or shutdown responses. So when we pause like this and allow ourselves and our attention and our awareness to simply notice ourselves being present, we can get underneath some of those things. So if you will, notice the sensations in your body as you settle. Notice the sounds around you. Notice any smells around you. And that all of this noticing is the quality of your aliveness right now. And that being alive is entirely what you're here for. So notice what's arising. And let's see if we can meet what arises with softness, gentleness, compassion. So notice if there's a bit of pain somewhere. Notice if there's any part of the body that says, no, I don't want to settle. I can't settle. I'm too tense. I'm not able. And meet that part without any judgment, without trying to control it, and say, yes, I know it's hard. I love you. Let's see if we can rest here and settle together. And tensions and reactions might arise from that, and allow them to be there. So as you let your noticing and your awareness touch all the parts of your body, all the tones of the tensions and emotions of your aliveness that are right here. Allow them to be exactly the way that they are without trying to make them be any different. And let them feel absolutely free to be present and alive in you. All the reactions, responses, and tensions, and all the parts that are able to relax. And acknowledge that all of these are parts of you that long to have your allowing to live in you, to be present just the way that they are. And imagine, if you will, that any of the tensions and the tightness in your body, wherever you're feeling it right now, invite them to melt and let them begin to dissolve and flow freely all the way through the body, and maybe let them drop through your body into the ground that's holding you. And that's a way in which you don't have to hold everything by yourself, which is often a pattern that our culture puts us into. And if we have worries, if we're thinking too much, instead of fighting those things within ourselves, let's bring ease. Let our breath come in and invite all of our tensions and reactions to melt and dissolve and drop down through the body. And compassion that says it's all right to be exactly who you are right now is hugely needed for all the sufferings and upsets and trials that we're experiencing and that we notice in the world around us. So can you meet your own experience with curiosity, warmth, compassion, and love? And maybe begin a practice of noticing where you can do this, and maybe have a few words of a few little notes in which you can say yes. Yes, I can settle a little bit more. Yes, I can settle. And when we allow our energy to drop into the ground, into the earth, and we receive the resources from the earth of being held, being nourished, and of our breath. These are vital resources, because when we feel ourselves to be grounded and breathing, then we're no longer holding our energy up high in the body away from the earth. We're not stopping our breathing, as we sometimes do when we're tense. So as we do these things, we're much more resourced and empowered to cope with the challenges that are around us. So when we look at the challenge, what we tend to do is we look and move and fall towards what the other person is saying or doing. And when we do that, we could kind of fall over and lose our sense of groundedness and support. And that's not a very helpful way in which we can attempt to change what the other person is doing. But if we come back, and my message is that when we go out into the world and we meet issues and difficulties, as well as joys and beauties, to come back and to continue to come back and drop in over and over again, come back into the things that are resourcing us at the earth and our breathing, to feel the empowerment that that brings us, and feel that we are settled, grounded, and nourished all of the time in every single moment by this earth. So instead of looking at the challenge, if we listen in, resource ourselves, we will receive some guidance about what to do next. So instead of letting ourselves overthink, how can I cope with this overwhelm? Say, okay, first of all, I need to get some nourishment and resources. Drop right into the body. Let all the energies drip into the ground. Allow your pelvic floor to subtly move with your breathing. And see if you can receive a sense of power, resourcefulness, responsiveness, and capacity to find some new ways to meet the challenges around us, to find different actions, words, and behaviours with which to meet the things that are coming at us and challenging us. And imagine this change coming from within, rather than I have to change everything around me because it's really scary, overwhelming, dangerous. And our body is telling us all these things. So let us notice more and more the aliveness in our bodies, in our response to the way the world is around us. And meet those with kindness, openness, allowing, relaxation. And all the time imagine those energies dropping and dripping down. And as we receive the nourishment of the earth through our bodies, we don't have to contain all the issues. We can invite ourselves to move, let ourselves open and stretch and move and dance, and also to allow our voices in receiving the air to nourish ourselves so that we can voice our truths into the world. So let our attention come into a grounded, settled body that's breathing and alive and awake, and invite these resources to inspire us in how we can respond. So if we can change ourselves in the moment by noticing, breathing, nourishment, settling, spaciousness, and awareness, we'll have open-hearted access to new words and behaviours, compassionate behaviours, kindness for ourselves and others. Compassion for others begins with kindness for ourselves. And so we can change the world around us by showing up more clearly in our truth, in our openness and spaciousness, our fluidity, our centeredness, and our grounded awareness. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for being with me.